If you saw that there were aliens there, would you tell us?
Yeah.
You would?
I would.
You would.
Well, I think, look, what do we know? We know now we live in an ever-expanding universe. We know that there are billions of stars and planets literally out there, and the universe is getting bigger. We know from our fancy telescopes that just in the last 2 years, more than 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to be far enough away from their suns and dense enough that they might be able to support some form of life. So it makes it increasingly less likely that we're alone.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens. And that he didn't find anything.
Well, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, why not?
Right? And you know, there's a new name. It's unexplained aerial phenomenon.
Unexplained aerial phenomenon,
Yep,
really?
Yep, UAP. That's the latest nomenclature.
I like the old one. I like UFO. I don't know why.
Well, I think we can use them interchangeably, but I would like us to go into those files and hopefully make as much of that public as possible.
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in and he did check and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.
If suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe, we'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
How many species there might be that we've identified already? What the ships look like, the variety, from the small foo-foo fighters up to allegedly motherships mile wide.
I think, you know, looking at the sorts of interesting reports in these files, the ones from police officers, pilots, military personnel, the ones tracked on radar, you know, there's material there that certainly makes me think twice. It's not all misidentifications of aircraft lights and weather balloons.
Is there any one report that stands out as extraordinary or perhaps most convincing?
One in the new files that I particularly like is a radar sighting where an object travelled 10 nautical miles in 12 seconds, about 3,500 miles an hour. And that's on a military radar.
And they picked up their cameras and started over toward it, filming as they went. And when they got in fairly close to it, it lifted up, put the gear back in the wheel wells, tipped up, and took off at a great rate of speed. And so they came into my office and told me what had happened, and I sent them over to develop the film, and then had to go through all the proper regulations of reporting this, and we wound up having to send the film forward to Washington in the base jet airplane, and I don't know whether anyone's ever seen it since.
I have frequently been asked why a person of my background, a former chief of the defense staff, a former chairman of the NATO military committee, why I think there is a cover-up, or what the reasons may be for governments wishing to cover up the facts about UFOs. What I'd like to say is that there is a serious possibility that we are being visited and have been visited for many years by people from outer space, from other civilizations. That it behoves us, in case some of these people in the future or now should turn hostile, to find out who they are, where they come from, and what they want.
What I saw were lights. I saw three different things. I saw a glowing red eye-like ball that was dripping like molten metal that came toward us, it moved, it came into the forest, moved through the trees, missing the trees, obviously under control. The item moved back into the field and exploded and was gone. There were three objects to the north in the sky that had multicolored lights that moved in synchronization as though they were doing a grid search. We watched them for quite a while, and we saw two objects to the south. They were white, bright lights. We couldn't discern a shape. There was a shape, but I couldn't tell what it was. One came overhead at high speed, very high speed, 2,000 or 3,000 feet up, and sent down a laser-like beam at our feet. Just click, it was on. I stood there in awe, very concerned. Is it a weapon? Is it a warning? Is it communication? And as suddenly as it appeared, it disappeared.
The United Nations is getting ready for a contact with aliens from outer space. This is Moslin Othman. She's out of Malaysia. She will be planet Earth's first interstellar diplomat.
If aliens invaded, who would step up to lead us in that fight, and could we even win? That's just one of the questions the Discovery Channel's new series, Curiosity, looks at. Joining me now is physics professor Michio Kaku, who is a consultant for the series. Professor, welcome. The biggest question before we get any invasion is, do aliens even exist, and how would we know?
Well, the Kepler satellite currently orbiting in outer space has identified about 50 planets that seem very much Earth-like. In fact, every week we discover another Jupiter-sized planet in outer space. Now, to be sure, most of them probably have no more than microbial life, just germs. But a few of them may have intelligent life, perhaps even more advanced than what we have on Earth.
Just finishing up, this is the Vatican now, a 5-day conference on aliens. Father Jonathan Morris, Fox News contributor, back with us. Father, good morning to you.
What a great movie that was.
It was a wonderful movie. Drew Barrymore, and off she went. Did the Vatican find alien life?
You know what? As sensationalistic as that question sounds, it's really not that far off from what we've seen in the news over these last days. The pictures of what might have been Pope Benedict standing on the roof of the Sistine Chapel looking for UFOs. That's the type of images that this news conjures up. What is exceptional is that the Vatican was taking very seriously what science might tell us about the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligent life forms.
How would it change the Church's teaching then? Well, if you consider for a moment, if you determine that there is extraterrestrial life there.
Well, one thing would be fascinating would be not only extraterrestrial life, but if it were extraterrestrial intelligent life forms. That would definitely make us go back and say, maybe our understanding of perennial truths needs to be updated. Now, the way we look at it is this. It's not about whether or not God was the creator, but rather how he created. It's not a question of whether original sin, this Adam and Eve story, is true or not, but our understanding of how that played out. So it's growing in our understanding of perennial truths.
I think that's an interesting explanation there. And I think also if it were determined, Father, that would be an earthquake, would it not?
It would be, and especially if the Vatican were involved in accepting that. I think we have to make sure that science is not in some way ideologically driven. We have to make sure that faith and religion is not ideologically driven. Faith and reason, they go together.
Well, you represent the Church very well in this segment here. Now, I know they've had the conference. When they determine something, if they do, come on back, okay? Father Jonathan Morris.
If I see anything, I'll tell you.
After years of research, a large number of Chinese UFO scholars, including myself, are convinced the authenticity of UFO, the existence of UFO and aliens. To testify the existence of the UFO and aliens,
I think we're just going to go down the row, and then we will come back and ask questions. Dr. Shelley, welcome.
Thank you.
Congresswoman, Congressman, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Sun Shili. I am from the People's Republic of China. I am the president of the World Chinese UFO Federation. Our federation serves as a communication platform for the global Chinese on all aspects of UFO, including those in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and abroad. we have 1.3 billion people in China, and on top of that, we also have a lot of overseas Chinese. That means we have a very big federation. I also wanted to point out that Chinese people consider ourselves as the descendants of dragon, and dragon is from out of space in the Chinese culture. So in the Chinese culture, we are from out of space as descendants of dragon. Secondly, we call our land as the land of deities or the land of gods. And another principle in the Chinese culture, which is also important, is that we seek the harmony between people and heaven. So descendants of the dragon, the land of deities, and the harmony between people and heaven are very relevant with the hearing that is taking place today. My career is in international affairs and international economics, and I have been working in the government. I have been a diplomat and a university professor. But since the 1970s, I started to spend time on the subject of UFO and the study of the mysteries of the universe. Since the establishment of the China UFO Research Institute in 1980, I have been actively involved in the leadership of the largest UFO organization in the world, and the later of the World Chinese UFO Federation. So I have been a witness to the history of China UFO research, and also a spokesperson or an advocate, if you will. Since 1990s, I participated in a series of international conferences in Asia, Europe, North America, South America, and many other places, engaging in academic exchanges. I've also been interviewed by many international media on China UFO research development. This media include AP, BBC, CNN, NBC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Christian Science Monitor, Times Magazine, and the most prestigious science and technology channel, Discovery. Of course, in addition to that, for many years, we have also been interviewed by the Chinese state media, Xinhua, and the CCTV, and many other Chinese media. So for the past 33 years, it's been a very hard time for Chinese UFO scholars, but we are still committed to the study of this subject, and we have gained a lot of great results, which is reflected in the following aspects. First, everyone on this planet is looking for our roots in the universe. We have the right to know. We have the right to discover. The mission of the Chinese UFO scholars is to help our citizens realize and implement their right to know and their right to discover. Any attempt to cover up is unacceptable. Secondly, statistics of the China UFO groups show that people involved in the subject of UFO is an overwhelming scale. According to our statistics, in China, out of 1.3 billion people, we have close to tens of millions of people who are UFO enthusiasts. And those who are interested in UFO subject or believe that UFO exists account for half of the Chinese population, which is about 500 million people. A group of senior scholars in the China UFO Research Institute come from various backgrounds that include scientific research agencies, aerospace, aviation, manufacturing, astronomy, and many scholars are very prestigious scholars in the society. For example, a scientist who is actively engaged with us, Mr. Chen Xuesheng, Wang Ganchang, and mathematician Mr. Chen Jingrun and a very famous astronomist. We are working with these people frequently, and we actually have more than 100,000 members. This is a very big team, and we are all contributing our share to the study of UFO. Thirdly, after years of research, a large number of Chinese UFO scholars, including myself, are convinced the authenticity of UFO, the existence of UFO and aliens. To testify the existence of the UFO and aliens, I have also written articles that have appeared in China's encyclopedia, which is also a very prestigious encyclopedia in China that was edited by Mr. Tian Xueshen, a famous scientist in China. So, we believe the existence of UFO, we believe the existence of aliens and extraterrestrials. For many years, after our research and investigation, we have recorded some third kind cases, including the Fengshan Mountain incident, the Feixiang incident, the Beijing Caogong incident, and the Duxi Farm incident, as well as interaction with the national civil aviation system and the military with outer space. Fourth, China has the earliest and the most recorded cases of the third kind in the world. The earliest can be traced back to 12,000 years ago, prehistoric records carved in ancient stone plate. According to our studies, up to 5,000 years of written history, there is a wealth of suspected mysterious UFO-related data and files, including ancient data from the ancient local governments, official documents, history, ancient scientific literature, or even in civil literary works. We see all these records, which prove that UFO does exist, and also proves the real existence of the interaction between UFO and humans.
Thought of visitors from another planet would give a lot of folks the willies.
Yeah, one man says it's been happening and that the government, specifically NASA, knows about it. J.R. Barry has the story.
It's a question man has been asking for centuries. Are we alone? And could there really be life out there somewhere? For some, the answer is easy. NASA, they say, knows that alien life exists and that we're being visited on a regular basis.
Maybe the powers to be are setting us up for disclosure and making it more subtle so that it isn't a big jolt to us.
Clifford Cliff is the worldwide director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. They have some 1,000 investigators. One of their latest investigations has to do with this video from January 28th of this year. A mysterious light is seen descending from the sky in Jerusalem. Multiple videos have surfaced of the supposed event. They all show the light hovering above the Dome of the Rock. After a few seconds, there appears to be some sort of energy burst. And then the light zooms away. So, is this proof positive that aliens exist, or is it nothing more than an elaborate hoax? MUFON believes NASA knows for sure.
They do have a significant amount of information about the UFO phenomenon and ETs that they have not disclosed that are still there. Some of the astronauts have come forward now and are indicating that they have seen and witnessed things that were beyond their explanation.
Last October, during a satellite interview with NASA Director Charlie Bolden, I asked the former astronaut if he had ever seen anything in space.
JR, I must admit, everybody that goes to space wants to see an alien. Or wants to see some evidence that there is other life in our universe, and I'm no different. But I am here to report that I saw no evidence, although deep in my heart I believe that there is good potential for other life in our universe.
There is no doubt we are being visited.
However, one of Bolden's colleagues says otherwise. Dr. Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon. He came forward years ago claiming to have proof that alien life is out there.
The universe that we live in is much more wondrous, exciting, complex, and far-reaching than we were ever able to know up to this point in time. And the fact we have wondered, were we alone in the universe forever? Only in our period do we really have evidence, no, we're not alone.
So what's going on here? Why the different stories from two credible NASA sources? Last month, I had the chance to catch up with the NASA director again, this time in person, and I asked him about Ed Mitchell's stunning comments.
Ed Mitchell is a big believer in extraterrestrials. And as you and I talked about before, I am one who, because of my faith, I believe that there is very likely other life somewhere else in the universe. I just don't have any evidence to back that up. But Edgar is one who, contrary to my observations, actually claims to have evidence that extraterrestrials exist.
Well, even the Vatican is waiting.